Hello, everybody. I am really excited to talk to you about this topic of jealousy and joy. This is something that's been on my mind a lot lately as I've been really recognizing and appreciating just what amazing gifts are available to us with the emotion or response of jealousy in our system. It's something that's been very surprising, and I think something that we don't automatically think of, that jealousy could actually be a healthy and good thing in some ways. And in fact, for those of you that have been with me for a little while and talking about joy and a part of this conversation, one of the quotes that I'm always shown or that people love talking about is the quote, "Comparison is the thief of joy." So I'm here to propose to you in this video of, is comparison really the thief of joy? I definitely think that there's an element of absolutely yes, but I'm hoping to expose you to another concept that it also can be a really powerful signpost to you, that jealousy and comparison can show up in a way that can help lead you back to what's in alignment for your heart and soul. So, you ready for that? Type in the comments, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to have this be a conversation, because I'm really excited to hear your insights on this as well. And truly, this is just my experience. So I'm sharing you my insights, and they may be different from your experience. So we'll just kind of talk about it together, okay? So I've got my notes here. I was just going to see. Okay, so here's what I've noticed. Jealousy. Jealousy can absolutely be one of the most clear signals that our system can give us when we are out of alignment and maybe have an area that needs to get into alignment. And I have a 5-step little process, mini process that I'll share with you here in a minute that I use so that anytime jealousy shows up, my ears are wide open and I'm listening, because I know jealousy is going to help lead me into what my heart is really looking for, okay? Jealousy can also call us to really lean into a certain type of feeling or a way we want to feel and experience the world. And it's a clearer signal sometimes than any other way that we are existing, any other feelings that come up. Jealousy can be so powerful that way. And it's also just, such a powerful teacher and a powerful alert that goes off in our system that can be a redirect, okay? Because here's the thing. Our hearts and souls came to this planet to bring their brilliance and to be fully alive and fully expressed and to bless the world with our essence, with exactly the genius, the beauty, the brilliance that each of us are and every person on the planet is. But in our daily grinds and just going through the motions of life, we get tired and our hearts and souls get a little bit restless. And so sometimes jealousy is a really powerful wake-up call for us to see very clearly, oh, there's an adjustment needed here, okay? So let me take you through that 5-step process. Even saying it that way feels a little cliche because, yes, there are 5 steps that I use, and you might want to write them down because they are really helpful, but also it doesn't have to be so intense. Oh, and I love Hannah, your comment. Let's actually address this before we see the 5 steps. So Hannah's saying, I think there's a positive way to look at others and say, I would love that too. However, jealousy to me is negative, thinking if I can't have it, I don't want them to have it either. Yes, that's exactly what I'm seeing too. So I feel like the emotion, the trigger that happens for jealousy to happen, it comes from the same place. I ultimately believe it comes from a healthy spot, but then whatever filter we're putting on top of it, like the filter you just mentioned, if I can't have it, I don't want them to have it either. That would be, that signal signing off in our system being like, hey, that's a signpost. What you're seeing in that person, what you're seeing in their family, what you're seeing in their Facebook post, that's something that is connecting with where your heart and soul are calling you to go, right? Instead of recognizing it, sometimes we have all these filters, and some of those filters come up when we have beliefs that we can't have what we want. We don't deserve what we want. Everybody else gets what they want, but we can't ultimately have what we really, really want. So when we have that kind of a belief or filter, then that signal of jealousy or that kind of comparison would come up, and it's going to get trapped by the filter, and then you're just going to see it with the negative perspective, like you were saying, right? Which is not the healthiest way. Then it really does steal your joy, like that quote that we were saying, comparison being the thief of joy. And so what I'm proposing is that through this process, a lot of us aren't, myself included in this, a lot of us just aren't that evolved that we feel a feeling and we're like, oh, that's my heart and soul calling me and telling me to do something, right? I'm reading Rebecca's comment. I'm not jealous of anyone or anything. I focus on what I'm doing and my goals and legacy, which is good. That's a really healthy place. And also, like that's really healthy. So I think that what I'm pointing to here, and I knew this conversation would get a little bit heated and it makes us a little uncomfortable, right? So I'm excited. Keep your comments coming because this conversation, what I'm trying to open you up to is that what if, instead of like being able to always hear clearly, oh, there's my heart and soul calling, what if sometimes it shows up and we can't see it, and instead we see jealousy or we see comparison, right? And that comes up first, and that's because of some subconscious filter that we have going on that tells us we can't have what we really want, and disconnects us from our heart and soul. So what I'm proposing to you is for even greater joy to use jealousy as a alert in your system and be awake and conscious with jealousy when it shows up, because as you are awake and conscious with it, then you will find it can be one of your most powerful teachers in helping you bring your life into greater alignment with your heart and soul, which when we're living from a place aligned with heart and soul, our joy expands and it's amazing. And Hannah's saying, I wish I could say I never get jealous. I'm jealous of you, Rebecca. Yay! Right? This is so real life. I love it. And one of the aspects of being conscious, living consciously, living free, living in joy, is being able to look at these shadowy places and look at them from a space of compassion, right? Because if we're just like, I'm a jealous person and I'm so bad, we're not going to grow from that. We're not going to experience the greater joy that's actually available to us. And so let me tell you the process, and we'll walk it through, because then I think it's going to make even more sense. Because I think, personally, I still get jealous, and I work a lot on my emotional state and the impact and value, like Rebecca's saying. I work a lot on those things, and still jealousy creeps in. But I get excited when I see it, because it's like, oh my gosh, there's something in that, what I'm seeing and what I'm like, I want what they have. There's a signpost in that for me that's in alignment, right? So let me walk you through the process. I love your responses. This is so fun to do this live and have you guys chatting with me. So keep it coming. Keep your comments coming, okay? So here's the 5-step process. The first part is to recognize jealousy, okay? So this would show up, jealousy is kind of easy to recognize, but it's the actual being like, oh, this is the feeling of jealousy I'm feeling, and not letting it spiral into the pity party like sometimes it can, right? For people who are very prone to jealousy, it often spirals quickly. I've been in that place a lot of times as well. So the second step would be to pause once you recognize it, like, oh, this is jealousy. And then you're going to ask a really important question. You're going to ask, what do I desire here, like in what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling jealous of, and why do I want it? Okay, so here's an example. I'm somebody who loves to travel, loves to travel. And so I sometimes, if I'm feeling like I'm just kind of trudging through my life, and I'll hop on Facebook or Instagram and I'll see all these people and they're in all these exciting places, right? And they're in their pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower, and they're on the Great Wall of China, right? And if I am in a place where I haven't been in a lot of alignment with my heart and soul, then that can actually really trigger me. And I can see those pictures and be like, so jealous of that. My life sucks. Their life is amazing. Why does my life always suck? Kind of a response in my system. This is not conscious. This is not me like choosing jealousy. I could force my way out of jealousy, right? I could be like, stuff that under. I'm so embarrassed that I even thought that or saw that, right? But instead, a conscious response is, oh, wow, jealousy is showing up. Interesting. what is in here that I want and why do I want it? So in that example, then I would say, you know, like, what do I want in this? Well, I want to travel more, okay? But why do I want that, right? And the why is the question that keeps you in alignment, okay? Because then you have to get really truthful with yourself. I'm getting all sorts of fun notices while we're doing this. So then you have to be really truthful with yourself. So I could stop at like, well, I just want to travel more. End of story. It's going to keep me in jealousy. I'm going to still feel stuck. And it's not going to be a gateway to joy and a gateway to greater alignment with my heart and soul. And so instead, when I ask, well, why do I want that? Then I start to get some more clarity. So then I see, well, why do I want to travel? I want to feel free. I want to feel adventurous. I want to see the world, and I want to experience new cultures and things, okay? So that's getting that baseline of why I want it helps me get more in alignment with the heart and soul reason. So if we don't do the why step and we don't ask that question, then sometimes what happens is we get even into greater jealousy or even into greater ego. So how that could look is if I just stopped at, well, I just want to travel more, then I could be really mad at my life. And I could say, oh, my husband, he makes it so I can't travel. And then I could say, God, my kids, it's because I have 5 kids. I can't travel. It's all their fault. And then I could start to resent these pieces in my life that I feel like are keeping me from what I want, from the what. But the what is one tiny part of the detail. The much more interesting and soul-connecting part of this discovery is looking at the why. So like that iceberg and all that's underneath it. The what is the very tip that we can see, but the why is where our freedom and our liberation comes, and even greater joy is being given to us. So we look at why, okay? So that's step number 2. Pause and ask, what do I want and why do I want it in this, what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling jealous of? So the third thing that this is such a powerful question, then you ask yourself, what is my story about why I can't have this? Okay, so some of that you might have already seen as you're like, it might just automatically be coming up like I was mentioning. But your story, when you start to look at it, you're like, well, what is my story? Even just asking yourself, like, what is my story, takes it so you're not in as an emotionally charged place, and instead you're able to come from a much more objective space and really just look at it. Oh, God, what is my story about this? Why can't I have it? Right? So then you can look at it, and from that way, then you might see, well, my story is that because we have, 5 kids and I'm the breadwinner in my house, I can't travel as much as I want to. That's my story, right? So whatever your story might be. Then the 4th step is then you ask yourself, well, what is the truth? So then you get to look at like, okay, is this story, like, are these real reasons? Like, is this really holding me back? Or is there a way for me to experience greater, like I said, connecting back to the why, greater freedom, adventure, experiencing other cultures, that exploratory piece? Are my kids and my husband really holding me back from feeling free and that sense of adventure and exploring and experiencing other things? No, the truth is absolutely not. And when you start to look and dig deeper at the story, then you start to see, do you even need the what that you were first looking at? Like in this example, do I have to have constant world travel enable for me to feel free and adventurous and like I'm exploring my life and experiencing other flavors and cultures in life? No. Then we have space for creative thinking, right? So this is a really, but I'll pause. I'll tell you that in just a minute. But then you have creative thinking. Then you can start to think, well, how could I experience feeling more free, adventurous, and experiencing other cultures right now? How could that happen? Because maybe it is a reality right now that financially it would not make sense for me to just go gallivanting all over the world. But I just want to feel free. I just want to feel these other cultures and experience other flavors. So if that's really my core heart and soul why, then I can trust there's a reason. There's something in this that's going to help me come more alive and come more in alignment to my joy. So then I can start looking for what are other ways that I could do that. And so that's the fifth step, is how can I create what I desire right now? What's even one more step of getting me closer? So in the example I'm giving you, then that might look like getting on the internet and seeing, well, when is the next cultural festival in my city? Maybe there's a Greek festival coming up. Maybe there's there's something happening at the Hare Krishna temple, or I could experience those other cultures, and I could take my kids, and I could do it in ways that are really accessible and easy for me to do right now. And then I could also look at, how can I help? Travel still is important to me, and so what's one little step that I could take to making that possible today? Well, maybe that step is I could start setting aside $10 a week for a travel fund, or even all my spare change and putting it in a jar, and continuing to explore how I can better connect in with that, why I want it, so that it's more able to happen and fuel my journey right now. So these reasons are why I believe if we can just walk ourselves through that little process, I'll recap it, but if we just walk ourselves through that little process, it actually, you get excited when joy or jealousy shows up, because you know that there's a signpost in it for you that's leading you deeper into alignment with your heart and soul. So the steps again, first of all, you stop, you recognize, oh, this is jealousy. And we could call that other names, right? You could say comparison, envy, that kind of a thing is what we're looking for. Then the second is you pause and you ask, what do I want in this, what I'm jealous of, and why do I want it? Why does it matter, right? Why is the crucial part of that question. And even just asking what, right? Because so often many of us, Rebecca, it sounds like you know a lot of people that are in this response too. I absolutely do as well, and I've been in this personally as well, where we just go through the motions of jealousy, and it just creates a really negative person, where we're just continually like, ugh, everybody has what they want. I don't get what I want. Everybody has a better life than me, right? Well, I think a lot of the times the reason why that spirals is because we don't actually stop to ask those two questions. We don't actually even get clear on what is it that we're jealous of that we actually really do want, right? Do you really want? Sometimes we just don't give it enough thought, and that can just lead us to spiral even more, right? So then we're just like, well, I don't know. I just want to be happy. I just want more joy, right? But instead it's like, well, what you're seeing that you're feeling jealous of, what is it that's actually that you think is going to bring the joy, right? So in my example, I was saying travel, but there's others where like, maybe you're seeing somebody and they've lost a lot of weight and you're like, oh, if I was thin, I'd be happy. And my body sucks and I just can't control myself, or blah, blah, blah. We spiral like crazy, right? Do you see what I mean? So the thing that we're trying to avoid with this process is that we want to use all of our emotions and all of these things that come up in our system as information. This is powerful information to help you continue to refine and adjust and get yourself more and more in alignment with your heart and soul, which will open up your joy. That's the beauty of working with our emotions instead of resisting or repressing them at all. So it's a really, really powerful strategy to just very simply be able to say, they have what I want. What is it that they actually have? Like, what is it that I want in this situation, and why does that matter? So recently this example came up. Well, actually, before I share that, the thing that can happen with joyful living is that we can be a little bit like crabs in a bucket. And I mentioned this on a social media post a little bit ago. Maybe some of you saw that. But just going in a little bit deeper here, we can do the crabs in a bucket thing. If you've heard about crabs, when you throw a bunch of crabs in a bucket, you actually don't even have to put a lid on top of the bucket, because if any of the crabs start climbing and getting a little bit close to the top, the other crabs will reach up and pull it down. Okay, so sometimes it can be, that would be maybe jealousy in its very negative way, right? That would be the way where it would be really damaging, is if we're having that negative response like Hannah was mentioning earlier, where it's like, oh, since I can't have that, then I don't want anyone to have it. So the goal here is that by using jealousy or the response of jealousy in your system as a powerful signpost to help you grow into greater alignment with your heart and soul, then that is going to make it so when you see people that have what you desire, then you're actually able to genuinely come from a place of cheering them on in it. Because what we can cheer each other on in receiving and having, then it then opens the door even wider for us to receive that also. Okay, it's a really powerful concept. Tearing somebody down, bringing someone back into the bucket is never going to fix things. It's never going to bring you what you desire in life. And so instead, we have to start using these emotional responses in our system as powerful signposts. And as we do, it will open up the floodgates for even greater joy, and it will help us get right on our path with our purpose and bringing our brilliance and the things that we came to this earth to bring to the forefront. So I'd love to hear your comments and like, how is this sitting with you? What are you thinking about this now? Like, you could totally disagree, and that's completely fine. And so what I would say too is that we can definitely look at, like, if you are spiraling and you can't quite stop and take yourself through this process, then you could absolutely pause and shift into gratitude, right? I just like being totally transparent, and some of you may disagree. In my experience and with those that I've worked with, sometimes just that shift into gratitude, if we're not taking things through this conscious process, then it can actually just become a numbing type of a thing. So we could see that experience of what we desire. Like maybe you see somebody that's really rocking in their business, or they're making a lot of money, they're being very successful, and you could look at that and you could be like, oh, I feel kind of jealous of them. Like, I wish I had what they had. And then we could say, oh, never mind. I can't believe I even thought that. I'm actually so blessed and my life is so amazing. And so let me just count my blessings. I'm going to list my gratitude out, 50 things that I'm grateful for. And what can happen sometimes if we're consistently doing that is that we're actually, like, when we shift our focus there, which is healthy. I'm not saying we shouldn't be grateful. That is crucial. But when we're not consciously looking at, well, why is that even triggering you? Why is that even bringing jealousy up? What is the lesson in it for you? What is your heart and soul trying to point you towards? When we just shift in right into like, oh, I'll just be grateful, then it can become a bypass. And then we're not even hearing the heart and soul in that. And so instead, we're just like shifting our focus onto the gratitude. And then years of our life go by, and we wonder why we're still unhappy and why we're still having to work so hard to count those blessings and focus on what we do have, and we're still feeling shameful about why jealousy is coming up. It's just a really fascinating discovery that I've been playing with for a while, and it's been very liberating. Instead of judging myself when jealousy comes up, I'm instead looking at it as a signpost. And I'm taking it through that process, recognizing, pausing and asking, what do I want in this? Why do I want it? What's my story? Third step, what's my story about why I can't have it? Number 4, what's the real truth in this about this situation? And then 5, how can I create more of what I desire to either experience or to feel right now? Like, how could I do it today? What's a little way, or what's a simple step to bring that into alignment? And so it just becomes a really powerful gateway. I'm a big fan of not repressing any of our emotions. I think that they are all signposts. Anger shows up in similar ways of teaching us when boundaries have been crossed, right? And when we need to establish healthier boundaries. Depression shows up when there's a denial of the self. And in fact, there's a saying that says depression is anger turned inward, right? So there's lots of examples. I could list out every emotion, but I just wanted to bring some healthier awareness to jealousy, because I'm noticing that this one comes up a lot, especially in the circles that I am in, of people who, I hear comments like, "Gall, I just made this amazing breakthrough in my business, and I feel like I have no one that I can share it with. I feel like there's nobody that I could say, like, I just did this amazing thing or this incredible opportunity just came to me, because it would make other people feel bad. Or I don't have anybody in my life that can cheer me on in that. And in my eyes, I feel like that's BS. I feel like that's not healthy for our society. And I think as women, we have been doing this way too long. It's got to stop. We've got to get to a space where we instead don't have to be crabs in a bucket tearing each other down because of what we see other people have and we think we want exactly that. Instead, we need to be using those emotions coming up as powerful signposts to bring us into greater alignment with our heart and soul. And then we can freely cheer people on, and we can be the person who is truly, genuinely excited for the success and the happiness and the joy in others. I think as a society, we are so comfortable in misery and struggle that we don't even know how to operate in joy. And joy feels like it is the rare thing in this situation, right? In life, the situation of life. Joy is very little. But in fact, joy, the whole world is set up to support our joy. Every single thing that our body does, even breathing in and out, is a pleasurable experience. It's a joyful experience. Eating can be such a joyful experience. Even when you go and relieve yourself in the restroom, like, that is a pleasurable experience to release and let go. And then you look at the world outside your windows. Every bit of it, I mean, there's in most places where we live, there's little tufts of nature everywhere, and nature is set up to bring us joy. The whole planet is set up to bring us joy and support us in joy and love. And so I feel like we as a society are the ones that are keeping ourselves in the struggle and the pain, instead of honoring all the joy that's around us and available to all of us. Not just to some. There's not a scarcity on joy or on living a happy life, but we have to get more conscious when jealousy, envy, comparison show up, and don't brush it under the rug, and instead stop and pause, ask yourself these powerful questions so that you can find what is the lesson in this situation for me, so that I can bring my life, my heart and soul into even greater alignment. So that's my hope. I'm just going to check in super fast. Hannah is saying, I love this. We are definitely going through this right now in our life. I think when we go through hard times, our first initial reaction is jealousy of those whose lives seem easier. But as we cope, learn, pray, etc., we are able to reach that healthier place when our emotions aren't so raw. Exactly. So what we're doing in this situation is, by you having clarity and taking yourself through those questions, just asking, getting curious, why is jealousy showing up? Then it's actually taking the trigger out of the situation. And then once the trigger is moved and it doesn't trigger you emotionally, it won't trigger that fear, anxiety response in you, then you're more free and able to show up in just love and peace and trust. And then that ultimately opens you up even greater to receive and be in alignment with what you really desire. So it's a really exciting for me. Truly, I mean, like I said, I see this happening in the circles that I run in, and it's really alarming to me. So I feel like, as women who are so emotionally connected anyways, we're emotional beings, that the more conscious we become of our emotional responses and how they are signposts and our greatest teachers, the greater love and support we're going to be able to offer freely to each other and receive from each other. So that's my hope and my prayer, that we can all step into greater alignment with our emotions and with our heart and souls, and use jealousy as a powerful, as a friend. Like, oh my gosh, my friend jealousy is here again. What's it here to tell me? Oh my gosh, it's telling me that I'm missing this piece that my heart and soul really wants in my life. I'm missing this feeling of freedom. I'm missing this sense of adventure. So how can I bring that into my life today? And you'll find that so often we place the solution of what we think we're needing. Like I was giving in my example, I could set that solution as, well, I just have to travel the world all the time. Like, that's going to be how I live happily, right? We set it to be so far out of reach, and we miss, like, did you know that you could actually have joy and adventure and like that sense of, flavors and tasting the world and experiencing that? You could have that every day. you could have that in little powerful ways every single day. And there's a billion ways that that could be possible, right? So it opens up, so there's so much more opportunity for you to really get that heart and soul need met, and to help you then be able to bring even more of your goodness, your love to your relationships and to your life situations. So keep those comments coming. I'd love to keep this discussion going. As I said before, this is my insights on it. This is my experience. I'd love to hear yours. And meanwhile, to your joy and happiness and your heart and soul listening to that calling, I'm sending all my love and cheering you on. So much love to you. See you soon.